Hello and welcome to episode 322 of the Total Saints podcast, your home for all things Southampton Football Club. Before we start, a huge thank you to our TSP Patreon community because we couldn't make the show each week without your loyal support. Coming up this week on the podcast, after a decent point against Manchester City, it was very much business as usual at Everton, a lacklustre 2-0 defeat at Goodison Park. So we'll review that game for you. And the end is in sight. The final game of a terrible season sees second place Arsenal visit St Mary's on Sunday afternoon. So we'll preview that one for you. My name is Martin Stark, and joining me this week, Steve Grant is the owner of Saints Web. Alfie House is senior Southampton reporter for the Daily Echo, and Martin Sanders is a presenter, reporter and podcaster following Southampton. So let's get into it, shall we? Going to start with the latest on the new manager, if that's okay. Lots of headlines today about Will Still in talks to become Southampton manager, apparently leaving his job in France. That was some of the headlines earlier on today. Alfie, I know you've written about this. There's no news as such right now, but it does look like it's coming down to a bit of a two-horse race.
I think clearly there's been a lot of sort of reporting in the last 24 hours, hasn't there, about Will Still. I think it was first The Independent said that Southampton have approached Will yesterday morning, that's Sunday morning, and they were confident a deal would happen. As far as I'm sort of privy to and have been told, clearly he is now the front runner. He's probably the one that is most likely to be appointed. But although he's walked from his job at RC Lens for personal reasons, very valid personal reasons as well, to come back to England. He is still under contract there until, for 2 more years. He signed a 3-year deal last summer. So, that has to be sorted. That whether that is a compensation fee to be released or, he's got to pay whatever he's got to pay, I don't know. But that has to be sorted for him to take another job. So, that's where we're at with the manager at the moment. But I think it's interesting. Clearly you mentioned a two-horse race. It's been sort of Danny Roll has been linked all summer, but I think we even said on the pod a couple of weeks ago, Steve, that it'd been such a long time and nothing had moved. How do we even know that Danny Roll wants the Saints job? And I think since he's come out and said, excuse me, a lot of things about the Bundesliga and the Premier League and, wanting a really sort of ambitious job. And maybe Saints are just a little bit below him at the moment. But, that's only my opinion. We don't know if that's true.
I'm not overly excited about any of this, I'll be honest with you, Steve. I mean, he's 32 years old. I think he only got his UEFA Pro license a couple of years ago. Didn't play football at a higher level. Never managed in England, certainly not the Championship. It seems to me like another huge gamble at a time when we can't be taking another gamble.
The kind of main thing I would say to that is that any appointment is going to be a gamble, I think, in our situation. The one minor bit of credit we possibly give Sport Republic for is they did, Jason Wilcox did effectively get the appointment kind of right this time 2 years ago, and got us back out of the Championship the right end at the first time of asking. So, I think it's certainly Will Still is the guy with the noise around him at the moment, but I still suspect there's probably a little bit to run on this. There's been, I'm sure I saw somewhere someone was saying that the new guy will likely be in the stands on Sunday, but I don't know. I think
that's what the club would have liked. That's what their dream is, to have the new guy in the stands watching the game on Sunday. But as I said, when I reported that ultimately that's 6 days away, and you've got a lot to do.
Yeah, I think that's highly ambitious. It's while you'd kind of want them to be there. Maybe they themselves would take a view of, well, it's just a distraction from this last game, and actually I don't want to be associated with this crap, thank you very much. I'll come in the summer when everything's kind of calmed down a little bit, and I get a clean slate to kind of get a proper sort of running start at everything.
That's all fair points. Also, the counter argument to that is that we've lacked direction now for the best part of 10, 12 months, really. And I think fans, obviously the season tickets have opened up, and we're starting to think about next season. And fans want to see direction; they want to know where they're heading. And I think maybe that's a quick and easy way of giving them that. Something to remember for the next couple of weeks when they're still trying to sell tickets, I suppose.
Yeah, but then I guess you then fall into the issue of whoever we appoint is going to be divisive. I think I think there would be very few appointments where you won't have some level of dissent towards it. Like with Still, for example, it'll be he's basically become a manager through basically playing computer games. It's like, well, I mean, why is that any less valid a method of getting into the game than anybody else? And I mean, it doesn't say much for the level of coaching of the people that played professionally. If a guy whose only experience of football is through Football Manager can come through and become a manager that that overachieves in the top French division for 3 years, it's ultimately there's going to be disagreement regardless who does get the job. Even if Roll took it, I think there would be a lot of people saying, "Well, we only got Sheffield Wednesday the 12th. That's nothing special." But the last guy who got us promoted was finished the season in what 12th, 13th with Swansea. They were bobbing in mid-table, and that was largely as a result of a sort of end of season sort of surge as well. So yeah, I think ultimately nobody. I mean, whoever the new guy is, some people will give him short shrift regardless, just because that's the way that a lot of people are ingrained to be. They're sort of very untrusting these days that that the club could actually make a good appointment. So yeah, there'll be a lot of kind of, well, jury's out for me kind of comments, which is fair enough. You want people to have time to kind of give an assessment, but I think you've also probably got to have a little bit of a snap judgment and an opinion on whether someone just has that feel of being a right fit. And I mean, Martin, you've obviously said yourself you're not convinced by him, which is fair enough. I think I'm kind of, without wishing to get splinters in my arse, I'm kind of feeling a little bit on the fence on it. I can see that he's obviously done some really good work over in France in an environment. English coaches don't tend to do very well abroad, and he's obviously done a pretty good job there at two clubs. So the fact that it's not just one club where the environment has suited him, he's done it at two different clubs with very different circumstances, and kind of come out of it sort of with his reputation enhanced. I think that feels like a positive to me. It's a manager who feels like his career is kind of going in a forward direction, rather than us taking the sort of age-old managerial merry-go-round route, which I don't think we would have ever kind of been looking to do under this ownership. But I mean, we all know the sort of managers that kind of just dot around and wait for the next sort of crisis club to come around. And it wouldn't have been, under previous ownership, it wouldn't have been a huge surprise if one of those had kind of got the job on an emergency basis. So I think the fact that they're looking for something progressive, I think is a good sign. But ultimately, I mean, Johannes Spoor's recruitment, he's clearly been very busy in the couple of months he's been on board. And yeah, I mean, we're not going to see the fruits of any of that labour until well into next season, I would imagine.
Yeah, Martin, welcome back to the podcast. Going to get your thoughts on the new manager. The names that are being kicked around today, obviously, Will Still, Tom Cleverley, Danny Roll. Is there anybody there that excites you? I just think, morale amongst the players and the fans at the moment is lower than a snake's belly. It's rock bottom. So somebody needs to come in and turn that around. And I'm looking at the CVs of these players going, right, well, who are these managers and who is going to do that? Who's going to motivate people? Who's going to make me want to spend 550 quid on a season ticket? And it's just not any of the names that I've seen today. There must be people with more championship experience, for example, that could come in and do a job.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm intrigued by Will Still. I watched him on Monday Night Football with Jamie Carragher and Dave Jones a couple of weeks ago, and I thought he was really intelligent. He came across really well. He sets his sides up to be defensively really sound. They don't let loads of goals in his teams. there's a really good podcast out there with High Performance with Damien Hughes and Jake Humphrey. I've started watching that today, and it is really, really interesting. So I urge any Southampton fan to go check it out because it is well worth a listen. He's an intelligent guy. Obviously speaks numerous languages as well. He obviously knows Europe really well. He works on tight budgets as well. He's not spent a lot of money at his current club. They've had limited resources, sold some of their best players as well. So he's done well with a limited budget. He develops young players, and that's what they're obviously looking to do at the football club. Spoke to a lot of fans yesterday, and we're in and around Everton, and they were mentioning Sean Dyche. Would you take a Sean Dyche at Southampton? And though he played a totally different style of football, and I just don't see that being a fit. I see a Danny Rowe or a Will Steele. I think it will end up being Will Steele. That's my gut feeling. That looks like that's where it's going. I'm 50-50 on it. The appointment, Martin's so big. It's the biggest appointment that they're making in such a long time, and there's so much they need to get right. They need someone in quick because the overhaul with the squad's gonna be massive. They're gonna have to, whoever comes in, there's a certain style of play which it looks like they're gonna edge towards the Jurgen Klopp high energy, high press. It's not going to be Russell Martin tippy tap football. They're going to they're going to have to get fit. Going to have to rebuild a squad. Pre-season's massive this year because there's no doubt about it that the pre-season gone under Russell Martin was never near good enough. They weren't prepared, didn't have the right people in the door, didn't have the right players, and there's a lot to learn from the mistakes they made in the pre-season last year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's park that for the minute, and let's.
Not just on Will Steele. Very finally. I mean, the thing that surprised me, and I know he's a young manager, but Johannes Spurs has already set out that was going to happen anyway, quite clearly. So, no one should be surprised by that. His first season in France 3 years ago, he finished 11th with Stade Rennes. He finished 9th the season after, and he's finished 7th this season with RC Lens, with a net 70 million positive transfers. They sold their best goalkeeper, their best centre-back, and their best striker in the same season. He finished 7th, 5 points off Europe. We're going into the Championship. We have to be a little bit realistic about what we can actually get. And, if it's the case that Danny Rowe doesn't even want to come to Southampton, a manager who's finished 12th in the Championship as his best achievement, clearly you're not going to
choosers.
You can't be picked from the best, can you? And one of the things that Martin mentioned, the Sky Sports presentation that Will Steele did, I'm always hesitant to recommend people off of TV because they sound great. When you watch Russell Martin on TV, he sounds brilliant. He sounds you want to play for him again, and you think it's all going to go perfectly well. Everybody sounds good on TV. But the one thing that he said was, if we're not winning games, I don't care about styles of play and philosophy. I just want to win. I will change the team to win. I feel like that's what we've needed at Southampton. We talk about Russell Martin being too stuck in his ways. Well, here's a manager who's going to set the team up to defend properly. They're going to put more crosses into the box than anybody else. That's what they did in France. They put more crosses into the box than anybody else. They get the ball forward, get them into the striker. But ultimately, they'll change based on what the players he's got available and the team they're playing against and what they've been doing. He's not really wedded to one style. So I like that adaptability as a manager. I think that's what a manager should do. And Steve mentions the whole football manager thing. I mean, he's a 34-year-old bloke. If you find me a 34-year-old bloke who hasn't played Football Manager, maybe some of you will say that, but I feel like everybody our age has played Football Manager. I play it all the time. So he didn't get into fund management because he's good on Football Manager like Jay Cartwright from the Inbetweeners. He's studied coaching when he was 20 years old. He's managed at university teams. He's managed at 2 French top division teams. And now he's taken the next step. So it's not a case of he's a Football Manager fanboy and that's all he's good at. I'm not saying that he's going to go magically well or it's the right appointment or it's not, but I think we've got to be honest about what it is and where we are.
I do wonder whether he regrets that Football Manager quote because I suspect that will keep coming back to haunt him. I just feel Sport Republic are absolutely out of credit with the Saints fans at the moment, and they have to get this right. So I hope they do, and I hope that it works out. So maybe we'll get some news later in the week. As I say, let's put this season to bed. As you know, we spoiled the party at Main Road back in 2003, but there was never any chance of us causing an upset in the final men's game at Goodison Park. You three were all there. Steve, that reaction kind of sums up the game, really, doesn't it? We made it far too easy for Everton. It was like a glorified friendly, really.
I mean, if Everton could have handpicked an opponent out of the current Premier League roster for this game, I mean, it absolutely would have been us. And not just because of how we've been this season, because obviously, I mean, the fixture list is picked before we even kind of know how it's going to go, but also our record at Goodison, as we know, is atrocious at the best of times. And yeah, I mean, there was nothing really for us to play for. We got over effectively the one hurdle that was kind of remaining last weekend against Manchester City, and you could tell that there was a lot of energy expended in that, and a lot of sort of relief sort of outpouring from both players and fans. So was I surprised that we turned up and basically rolled out the red carpet for them? Not in the slightest. The team that we picked was predictable, both in terms of what Rusk would do and also how the team would respond to it. Very similar to Leicester in that we just first half it was just, well, we're just going to knock it around amongst ourselves when we're not under pressure, and if they put even the slightest amount of pressure on us, we're not going to be particularly interested. I mean, we went behind very early on, and I don't think, I mean, until the last 20-25 minutes after we made that triple sub, there was no real urgency from anybody. It was, I mean, took us an hour to have a shot on or off target, and yeah, I mean that first hour was absolutely pathetic. But I think the problem is that if you ask the 3,000 in that ground, having seen the team line up what they expected, I think a lot of people would have said exactly what transpired. So frankly, what Simon Rusk sees during the week must be something completely different to what we see every weekend when they step out onto the pitch in a game a game that vaguely matters. Because yeah, so many of them are so far off it. And I mean, if Everton wanted to score 5 or 6, they could have done. If they just kept the pressure up. I mean, they barely needed to lift a finger second half, or indeed for the last sort of 15-20 minutes of the first half, really. And yeah, we wouldn't have been able to stop them, I don't think. And it's not like we're playing someone good either. Everton are a competent Premier League side, but they're no world beaters.
Well,
they
Ipswich
are in the position.
Got the draw, they didn't they? They were 2-0 down.
Ipswich came from 2-0 down to get a draw 2 weeks ago, and I mean, I'm sure if that Stuart chance goes in, if he scores that to make it 2-1 with 25 minutes to go, I wouldn't have been surprised if we'd suddenly kind of got something out of the game. But the problem is, as soon as we kind of build any sort of momentum, we find a way of kind of handing it all back. So yeah, I mean, we'd have still probably ended up. I mean, even if we got back to 2-2, you're probably then having the scenario where Everton are throwing the kitchen sink at us in the last 5-10 minutes, and then you get the predictable Goodison farewell of the 97th minute in off somebody's arse winner. To kind of kick off an actual pitch invasion. That was one thing that was really disappointing, I thought, was that like the whole sort of Goodison farewell celebration thing in the ground. I kind of felt it was a little bit anticlimactic. Firstly, because we didn't offer anywhere near enough of an opposition for the game to be of any interest to anybody. But also, secondly, where Everton had clearly spent an absolute fortune on additional security and in-stadium policing. Noticeable that all the coppers were in the ground rather than outside when we were trying to leave at full time. But yeah, they'd obviously spent so much money on the in-stadium security that basically there was no chance of anybody getting on the pitch, making it kind of interesting at full time. When actually, I think when you've got a momentous occasion like this, clubs always come out with this sort of faux sort of glorifying of the fans, saying, "Oh, this is all this has been done for you. It's you are the people that drive this." And yet, as soon as the back's turned, the season ticket prices are going up 20% or something like that. So I mean, you'd like them to just let the fans on, let them have their moment on the pitch, because let's be honest, 99.9% of those Everton fans in the ground will have never set foot on that turf. And they're never going to be able to. And that should have been, I kind of think that should have been some sort of opportunity for them, really. But Yeah, as I say, a little bit of a damp squib of an event. I didn't stick around for the post-match stuff. It was, I think they were probably going to be waiting for about 20, 25 minutes. And some of us had a train to catch.
I don't blame you at all. No strikers, Alfie. No desire to get forward. No shots on target, and dodgy Wi-Fi. That was quite an afternoon for you, wasn't it? I think the only thing worse than Saints is the Wi-Fi. Was your tweet, which I thought was tweet of the afternoon.
Yeah, obviously, I respect
terrible all round.
I respect Goodison Park for what it is, but its facilities are outdated, and I look forward to hopefully in 2 years' time, going to Bramley Moor Dock. It won't be next season, obviously. Let's start with first half, 0 expected goals, 0 shots, obviously 0 big chances, 0 corners. But the best stat is 0 big chances missed compared to Everton's 3. So that's a positive. We didn't miss any big chances. Everton, it took 5 minutes to score. They obviously got the second one right before half time. But in between, Ramsdale made a brilliant save in the first minute. There was 2 goals ruled out for better offside. It's one of the worst. I can't wait for the season to end because I hate being harsh about it. And I like some of the lads in the dressing room. I don't like some of the others, and they don't like me. That's fine. But they're just constantly reaching new lows. And it baffles me how bad that first half was. It was. I honestly think it might be the worst first half I've ever seen of any team. But I'm sure I've said that a number of times this season. It might just be hyperbole. And Simon Russ talks about the response to the second half, and the second half was better. Obviously. Ross Stewart made a really good impact again. I'm trying to think who else came on.
Archer, did he? Archer came on?
Archer
and Smallbone.
And Smallbone, yeah. And I think it took about 60 minutes for those changes to happen. But, if Ross Stewart can keep fit, I know it's taken 2 years, but if he can keep fit, he'll be an asset next season because he causes problems. And I think Pickford made a really good save as well. But ultimately, it was a procession by that point. Everton knew they'd won the game. They didn't need to do any more than they had to. And it was a really comfortable afternoon for them. So, yeah, I thought the positives, a couple of players made a good impact. Jay Robinson obviously came on and played a bit more football, and I think that he'll be around the first team next season because although he hasn't set the world alight, he's 18 years old and he's quite diminutive. He's looked okay. He hasn't looked out of place. And then obviously we had a debut for Joaquin K. Sander as well, an 18-year-old centre back, and that's extremely young to be playing centre back. Is he going to be in the first team next season? I don't know. But again, he looked all right. Got stuck in straight away. I think he was talking to the lads around him, showing that confidence, and he's been really good for the 21. So I thought those are the positives of the afternoon. A couple of young players came on and a couple of subs made an impact. But yeah, they don't need to talk anymore about the first half because it was so bad. Just absolutely mind-numbing. And I think Glenn tweeted during the game, how many of these players actually care about the performance they're putting in and about the fans and how much it's cost them to be there. And how much did that cost to be there yesterday, Steve Martin? How much did it cost?
30 quid ticket, 110 hotel, 70 quid train, plus food and drink. So yeah, you're talking 250 quid weekend.
And there'll be a lot of people there who spent 200 quid on that weekend who don't have a lot of money, and Saints is their release, and look, they don't have to go. No one's forcing them to go, but you just want to see something, don't you? You just want to see a bit of passion, a bit of fight. And we saw that at the end of the game. I'll give them that, but we didn't see it at the start, and that's when it matters.
The effort and passion that we saw against Man City, Martin, was missing. I think that gave us a bit of false hope that we might actually be able to turn up and get something out of this and upset the party. But from the minute the teams came out, it was never going to be that way.
They continue to insult the fans. I think Rusk has a little bit in a way, the way he sets up, and the players do as well. There's a real lack of desire at times, and running off the ball's poor. No one wants to give anyone an option. The body language at times is woeful. You set up with a back five, and we have nothing up front with Silamana as a lone striker. Dibbling tried to get near him, but he's lacking a bit of confidence at the moment. He tries a bit too much. He's just not in any rhythm because his teammates are not in any rhythm. But Silamana, I'm done with him now. I've got to be honest. I'm with Glenn. Yeah, I'm with Glenn on him. He infuriates me at times. His touch was poor yesterday. He's got so much pace, but we find no way to use him in any way. He just doesn't work as a 9. But it was such an easy day for the two centre backs, O'Brien and Branthwaite. Didn't have a lot to deal with. We had to put a few long balls through to Silamana, who was never going to win them against those two. And they always looked like they had a man over in midfield. I really like Idrissa Gueye. I thought he was brilliant. A little young lad in midfield. Well, he's not young now. He's like in his mid-30s, but he's brilliant. He just gets around the pitch and he's so good. And Beto had the ball in the back of the net twice. And I just thought Downs and Aribo together, just for me, it's not a midfield pairing. I don't think it ever has been. But by playing that extra man at the back, you find it hard to get out. We never looked like we were going to get up the field and get past the halfway line. We played a bit of football across the 18-yard box, get to the halfway line. We haven't got a clue what to do. He's thinking, what are we doing in training in the week to? It just beggars belief. There's a lack of confidence, yes. There's a lack of desire with a lot of the players, and I think that I hope and pray that we give the fans something on Sunday against Arsenal. I don't expect anything different than what I've seen since Rusk has took charge. And it's not an easy gig for him, but the players, they need to show more for the fans. It's just it's all half-assed at times.
Were you surprised that Aribo started though? And I mean, obviously, like Ross Stewart, we thought might start, but didn't. It was just the team that came out. We're just looking at it, going, "This is not going to be good."
I thought Ross looked really good when he came on. I'd be just giving him game time now. Just get him into some rhythm and then get him to pre-season and then keep him going, because he'd probably keep training in that little window anyway, because they just want to get him ready for next year. I think.
I don't know about that, Mine. The fella's had 2 absolute summers from hell. I think he's absolutely desperate to have a bit of time off, to be honest. I mean, think about it. If you're injured over the summer, you go in 4 or 5 days a week. All the lads are on the beach. So I think he'll be...
The flights to Dubai are booked, are they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He'd be an asset next year. There's no doubt about it. If we can start getting balls in the box, and if it is Will Steele, and that's the way he plays, getting balls in the box. But playing that system, you can't get the fullbacks up the field enough. And Bury and Wellington have just not played enough football to play that wing-back role. Like Walker Peters can just about do it, but he struggled at times. I would like to see us really go at the fullbacks and get balls in the box and use Ross Stewart. I think we'll see a totally different style next year, whatever happens. And I think Ross Stewart will be key. I really like the look of Robinson. Thought he looked good when he came on. Real tidy, didn't give the ball away. And Cameron Archer, it was mad, wasn't it? Cameron Archer made a track back and made a really good tackle. And it's like one of the biggest cheers inside the away end. It was quite incredible. But he could be important next year if we can get him, if we've shown that we want him and shown a bit of love. I think he's got potential to be good, but
it's a real shame that Glenn's not here. I'm glad you're here, Martin, but it's a shame that Glenn's not here in one aspect, because we've got the new Brian Gunn situation, I think. If he doesn't know what about, just go and have a look at Glenn's Twitter replies regarding Cameron Archer in the last 24 hours.
Let's go check it out.
Do you think, Steve, there's a little bit of damage limitation for Rusk? I mean, we were kind of warned that it wasn't ever going to be like attacking football. Do you think he just doesn't want a 6 or 7-0 on his CV? And for him, a little bit is about what happens next, because at the end of the season, he's going to either have to fit in with the new guy that's coming in, or he's going to have to find an opportunity that might be elsewhere. Maybe he's thinking about himself a little bit when he's setting these teams up.
I mean, yeah, possibly. I mean, there was a lot of talk earlier in the season, wasn't there, of managers who were so kind of blinded to their own system that they're only doing it solely to get a job at a bigger club where their system might work. Where people were obviously talking about, Vincent Kompany somehow failed upwards into the Bayern Munich job, while they thought that Russell Martin was being kind of stubborn to the point of sort of it being nonsense.
Yeah.
Where solely because he thought that was what would get him a sort of progression upwards in the food chain. When I don't actually think that's the case at all. I just think that was the way he thought.
I mean, to be fair to Russell, he did always say that wouldn't happen for him because he's not Vincent Kompany. Now, what he says and what he thinks might be different things, but he did always say it wouldn't happen.
No, I mean, and he's right. I mean, in the end of the day, Russell Martin was a good right back, but he wasn't a sort of Champions League winning or
wasn't Vincent Kompany, was he?
Multiple title winning player with this kind of aura around him, like Vincent Kompany has. So yeah, of course it's very very different, but it doesn't stop the accusations being made. And I do think that maybe there's something in it with Rusk in terms of having one eye on the future. But at the end of the day, if he gets binned off by us, then he'll have a nice little payout and can take his time over his next move. So I mean, ultimately, I think everyone kind of saw what he was trying to do from the start, where you kind of go back to basics. You basically just make yourself really hard to beat. You try and kind of burgle whatever results you can get. But I think there still has to be a little bit of adjustment around certain games based on who you're playing. So
if you think about it like that, though, he's kind of done what he's been asked to do. If the brief was for the last 7 games,
points.
Make us harder to beat, get us past 11 points, and maybe introduce a few young players. He's kind of done that, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. But I would like to think the brief was a little bit more wide-ranging than that. The problem is that in actual fact we've had a relatively tough run-in on paper in terms of the opposition that we've faced. But the problem is that the two teams on paper that we should have been looking to get positive results from, we've basically not turned up in either game for at least an hour. Leicester. We didn't even manage to muster that much. So I think there should have been scope to have a little bit of difference based upon the quality or otherwise of the opposition. You can't go to Leicester and expect to kind of line up defensively and expect to just kind of shithouse our way to a result there, because Leicester are quite happy for us sitting back, because that means that they don't have to defend, and that's the bit they're terrible at. And actually, Everton aren't particularly great defensively either, despite Moyes being characterised as a strong defensive sort of system manager. Everton don't actually keep that many clean sheets. So yeah, we had opportunities, sort of second half, last half hour of that game yesterday. But the fact that it took us an hour to have a shot of any kind, let alone one that was on target and tested Jordan Pickford, suggests to me that he just had it all set up wrong. The midfield was wrong, and I think everybody would have said so at the start. I mean, why would you not? Given that you've set your stall out to be this kind of defensive solid unit, why is Ugochukwu not playing in that game? Why are you putting Joe Aribo in there? It's absolute nonsense. Unless Ugochukwu was injured, which I don't think he was, given that he was on the bench. If he's injured, why would he be named on the?
I think ultimately it's just a reward for the fact that Aribo made a really good impact against Man City, but like you said, doesn't mean it was the right decision. Yeah,
I mean, but then if for praising impacts, sort of in a short space of time, then I mean, you could then reward anybody with a start. It doesn't. One person performing in a certain environment doesn't automatically entitle you to take that place from the start for the next game. It's horses for courses. You tailor your team to the environment and what you're up against, and that's basically where I think that's where Rusk kind of falls over as any kind of tactical mastermind. It's I mean, you've literally got one way of playing, and it's not a particularly attractive one. But by the same token, it's exactly what I think we would expect and kind of back for Sunday against Arsenal,
which we will get onto in just a moment. Good tease. I'm going to trouble you for Player of the Week, so get your thinking caps on. Aaron Ramsdale won Player of the Week last week. That's the 8th time this season for him. Probably going to be our Player of the Season unless Matty Fernandez or Tyler Diblin win the next two on the trot. Who are the standout performers for you, Martin? This is going to be quite a short list, I'd imagine, but maybe a couple of the young lads or any of the subs?
Yeah, real tough. Ross
Certainly
Stewart,
no one that played for the first hour.
Yeah, no one in the first hour. Ross Stewart come on 60th minute for Silamana. I would give it to him. I thought he did really well, put himself around, come close, and at least he grafted and he wanted to make an impact. And that I'm with him 100%.
Could be the first nomination of the season, I think. Alfie, anybody for you?
I would think I'd go Charlie Alcaraz for that nice little clap at the away end at full time. It was quite a lengthy clap, that wasn't it? A good sort of 25 seconds. So
great reaction.
Sort of beating of the heart as well. It was,
good lad.
Yeah, very, very, very emotional.
I mean, obviously during the game we didn't actually do anything apart from sort of bollocks up there. Only one they had in the second half, but he's obviously a nice guy, isn't he? Honestly, I don't know. I would also go for Ross Stewart, but I think you could probably say any of the 5 substitutes. Honestly, Wolves-Smallbone, I think, put a cross in at some point during the game, which must have been the only one that went in. Cameron Archer had a chance, which must have been 1 or 2 chances. So I'll go Cameron Archer, but I don't know why.
Okay. Steve?
Just to wind Glenn up.
Make sure you copy him in when we put it on social media.
Given obviously his impact for the 21s last week, I'm going to go for Jay Robinson.
Nice.
Because a good sort of 25-minute, half-hour shift in this game, where finally we actually put their defence under a little bit of pressure. Everything seemed to come down that side, so it was noticeable that we were looking to get him on the ball as much as possible. You could tell the difference in the sort of body language, where he was very sharp, always alert, always on his toes, and looking to kind of dart into space to receive the ball, but always with a view of being kind of on that sort of little half turn where he can then take the ball and immediately look forwards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a novelty having players in midfield who actually look towards the opposition goal rather than our own. So him and in fairness, James Bree, kind of those two dovetail quite nicely over on that side. I thought gave Mikolenko a bit of finally a bit of work to do in the sun towards the last sort of knockings of that game. So yeah, that'd be my pick.
All right, nice one, thank you. Anything else on Everton? I feel like we kind of covered most.
I think there's one last thing. I thought there was quite interesting comments from Simon Rusk on Bednarek and Carl Walker-Peters at full time. And while I'm sort of rambling, I will pull them up so that I don't misquote him. But I basically asked him, is there any chance of Kyle or Jan playing next week? Now, clearly, Kyle's going to be leaving the club. He's out of contract this summer. Jan Bednarek, obviously didn't get that move to Roma in January, and he's been here for a long time.
That was his choice, wasn't it?
I don't know about that. I mean, I think he might have sort of taken it well at most, but I don't think that would have been his choice, if I'm being honest. Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, he's going to leave in the summer, I think, most likely. If a bid comes in for him, he'll probably move on. And I just sort of asked, will they get to play their final games for the club last year? And Simon Russ said there's a balance of getting the team which is right to compete, but also taking into consideration what's right looking ahead. They're not black and white things. We've got to get a team on the pitch that finishes the season with pride. There's a lot of complexity involved in these decisions. Whereas he had just said that, Jan had a knee injury. That's why Jan was out. He had a knee injury, and Kyle was ill for the last couple of weeks as well. So to then say that after, when I asked, will they play? I thought that was quite interesting. He does seem to be, to me, suggesting that he's not going to play them because he's looking ahead and they're not going to be here instead.
Yeah.
So he's lied about a player being injured or ill again.
Don't know.
Oh God, so tedious.
I think it's tough, isn't it? Because obviously I know he's a caretaker.
Tell people the truth.
I know he's a caretaker manager, and clearly it would, to me, been briefed to not say anything. That's what I feel like is happening. He's been briefed to not say anything, but he's almost caught himself out a little bit, I guess, by saying that when I asked him, a second time, will they play? But yeah, I don't know.
It's been quite a steep learning curve for him, hasn't it? Let's get on to that Arsenal game in just a moment. A couple of announcements for you. If you're one of our Patreons, it's time to check your DMs. If you're in the Francis Benali or the Mick Shannon tier, there's an important message waiting for you in the Patreon inbox. And this is your final call to get 25% off some beers. As you're probably aware, we've got together with Steamtown in Eastleigh, and we've got our very own Total Saints Pilsner. And you can get a 25% discount on 24 cans of Total Saints Pilsner by quoting this podcast to any of the staff at Steamtown. Now, the offer is only available in person at the pub. You can't use it online. So head along to Steamtown, which is just around the corner from the train station in Eastleigh, and you'll get yourself 25% off 24 cans of TSP by quoting Total Saints Podcast to any of the staff on site at Steamtown Brewery in Eastleigh. Now, there seems to be a sense of relief that the final game of the season is here, our last game in the Premier League for a while, and it's Arsenal. Hurrah. Martin, Simon Rush said there were plenty of positives to take into the game. I've kind of been scratching my head all day. I'm not really sure. I mean, the biggest one for me is that this is the last game of the season and it'll soon be over. I don't know how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, I don't know what positives he's seen. I haven't seen any in weeks. Yeah, it's going to be a tough
point
game.
Against Man City is the only positive.
Yeah, the only point. Yeah, that's a good point. Very good to get that over the line. Fine line, isn't it, football? Because he set up like that against City, and if we conceded too late on, he would have been absolutely crucified for the setup. we got it over the line. Well, can we do it against Arsenal? I think Arsenal are a little bit more clinical than City. Good result for them yesterday against a very good Newcastle side as well. And I think they'd be tough. You know, we went up there and we actually played quite well at the Emirates when we went up there under Martin early on in the season. Cameron Archer scored a really good goal on the day, didn't he? A really, really good goal. And we were in that for 65 minutes. And then it was, from memory, it was 2 mistakes that cost us. I think it was
Sounds
Downs.
familiar.
Yeah, it's very familiar. Yeah, there's few positives other than the fans have just been insanely good, haven't they? They've just been unbelievable. The people that travel up and down the country, been shortchanged week in, week out. Just seen the one win on the road, just the one at home. Deserve a performance and deserve to have a go at a side, but it's so difficult when you're playing against Arsenal. They're a machine, aren't they? Yeah, they've not been quite at it this season, but you know, it's such a tough game. I'm sure the home end will be full of Arsenal fans. You know it. I know already. I heard a couple of days ago an Arsenal fan. Oh yeah, I'm off to St Mary's a weekend. Oh, where you sat? Oh, I'm in the Kingsland. Oh yeah, of course you are, because you're being amongst the Saints fans. That's what it would be. It'd be full of Arsenal fans, and they'll all be down the bottom of the chapel. I would imagine trying to get shirts at the end of the game as well.
Steve, am I right in thinking that Arsenal have definitely got second now? So this is literally a game.
Well,
that
barring like a 14-goal swing or something like that for Man City, and that would involve City having to beat Bournemouth on Tuesday, and can't remember where they go last game of the season. But they'd have to win both of those and by a sizable margin, and of course the important bit, rely on Arsenal losing to us.
Yeah, so this is literally a game that no one really cares about.
Yeah, but it's interesting that it's turned out that way, because like a week and a half ago, when Arsenal lost to PSG, all of a sudden that game was looking like it could have been proper sort of Armageddon time for Arsenal, because their 2 games following their Champions League exit, Liverpool away and Newcastle at home, who they've played 3 times this season, not scored against, and lost all 3 games. And yet they've come out of it with, they came from 2 down against Liverpool at Anfield, and got away with 1 first half, I think, against Newcastle, but kind of toughed it out and scrambled over the line to get a win. So yeah, I mean, they've weirdly shown the mental fortitude that everyone was suggesting they didn't have when the title race was actually active. So I'm not quite sure what it really demonstrates at the moment. Probably won't know until next season when they're 10 points adrift again. But this time 10 points adrift to somebody else. But yeah, we'll see with Arsenal. I mean, at the end of the day, they're a collection of very, very good players. They've got a system that has largely worked for them, although they were really sort of exciting to watch early on under Arteta, but he's gradually made them more and more tedious, kind of with a view to it being defences that win titles, which, to be honest, I don't think that holds water when basically they've not had a centre forward all season, and it is clearly the one thing that's cost them. So yeah, I think they will. I mean, they'll relish playing against us, obviously, but it will be interesting to see whether they have any more success than Man City did at playing against the very low block, because we played with a pretty low block up at the Emirates and frustrated them for 75 minutes until we gave them a goal at the point at which where we really had them in our kind of grasp at 1-0 up, with the fans getting on their backs. And yeah, we then let it slip with absolute nonsense VAR decision and then another individual mistake. So yeah, can we cut those out again? Don't know. I mean, it's been a while since someone's made a monumental screw up for a goal. So maybe that's kind of what that's kind of what we've been missing the last few weeks, and we should expect to see at least one on Sunday, unfortunately.
What are you expecting from the game, Alfie? What would you like to see? I think it's going to be an afternoon of low block, isn't it? Do you think you should just go for it and maybe start with a striker?
Well, we know they're not going to go for it, obviously. And to be fair, would I just go for it? Probably not, because it'll end in a bloodbath. But I think if you're looking at this game, you've got to start with the fact that, has everyone seen what Mikel Arteta said after the match yesterday?
No.
He literally says it's time to go to the beach. They've obviously guaranteed their second place.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what we're going to see from Arsenal on the weekend.
Maybe he meant Western Shore.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But he might make
David Raya up front, please.
Exactly, he might make 11 changes and put Max Down on a 15-year-old in. You just don't know, do you? So I don't know what Arsenal we're going to see. You'd like to think that any team wants to finish their season on a strong point. So maybe they won't. But yeah, for Saints it'll be it wouldn't surprise me if it's 9 or 10 the same players. It'd be the same system. They'll try and defend for 90 minutes. They'll try and do what they did against Man City. And if they can get to 13 points with a 0-0 draw, I think most of us will take that at this point. I think, for being honest. So yeah, I'm not expecting a lot. I'm not expecting fireworks. I'm more excited about the Premier League 2-21s final this week, if I'm being honest.
Yes, well, we will talk about that before we finish. David Raya, I think, is one game away from winning the Golden Glove. So get your money on that. Did you get the email?
Level with Matt Sells, hasn't he, at Forest?
Did you get the email, Steve, about the pitch invasion afterwards, reminding us all to stay off the pitch?
Yeah, I mean,
are you expecting a lap of honour? Are they actually? Are they going to?
That warning is kind of pre-assuming that people are still going to be in the ground at full time. The one 2 years ago, we played last game, Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yes.
I think, literally the second the final whistle went, I was down those stairs. It's like this set of players doesn't deserve the support that it's had this season, and if they kind of try and go round and show their appreciation or whatever it is, I think they're probably going to get a little bit of a rude awakening from. I mean, there will obviously always be some who will stick around and kind of clap like the appreciative seals that we are, and obviously the cardboard. Please give me your shirt, Matty. Signs, which are, those should be banned from football. Anybody who comes into the ground with a cardboard sign should be banned for life. But
surely they just acknowledge the crowd like they normally do, then they walk off. There's no need to come back out with all their kids and their partners and their wives and traipse around.
I would think that would be, given the likely reaction from a sizable portion of the fan base. There may well be plenty of fans who actually want to stick around to hurl a volley of abuse at them. Yeah, and actually, I think if you put your families, your wives, girlfriends, and kids through all of that, I don't think that's a sensible plan on the part of any of the players personally.
Do they need to say that before, though? Do they need to let people know that it ain't going to happen, or whether it is going to happen? You don't want the confusion and the awkwardness.
I can't see it happening to the extent, like you said, they're going to bring families out. I just don't think that'll happen. It's ridiculous. It's tone deaf, isn't it? Mind you, we did have Adam Armstrong present a shirt after a 5-0 defeat for a woman who guessed it correctly. So, maybe there is the opportunity to do that.
I've forgotten about that.
Yeah, it's been a long season, hasn't it? It's been a long season with a lot of lows. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I do feel like sometimes players and stuff get a hard rap, and it's not always sunshine and rainbows just because they get paid a lot of money. They're still people and all this sort of stuff, and I'm with that brigade. I understand that, and I'm fully on board with that. But fans spend a lot of money to follow the team. Whether that's just home, whether it's home and away, whatever it is, whether it's just buying the club shirt and watching it at home, they spend a lot of money. And some of the reactions that I've had personally from some members of staff and stuff like that this season, like just surprised that we're criticising them. For me, it just absolutely reeks. And I'm saying it now because it's towards the end of the season, and hopefully a lot of these people, hopefully they'll all get other jobs, and then all their families will be fine. All this sort of stuff. I don't want people to have no job, but we don't want them here anymore, really, because some of these players haven't earned the right to be here. Some of the staff haven't earned the right to be here. And I think it reeks to me. It baffles me that some of these people don't understand why fans are angry and why fans are saying the things they are. And that doesn't mean you should abuse people. It doesn't mean you should, whatever, all this sort of stuff. But they've got to accept that this has been miles off good enough. And at no point in a game when we felt they've given everything has anybody criticised. Has anybody said anything other than, well done, it was a good effort. But there's been far too many games where they haven't given everything, or it looks like that. There's been far too many, it's not about. So this isn't about Simon Russ because he's been given an unbelievably difficult job. For example, he said last game that it's easy with hindsight to say that we should have started with a striker. Well, there's 32,000 fans of St Mary's who said before the game started with a striker. So it's not hindsight, that's foresight, and you're paid to have that foresight. Again, this isn't about Simon Rusk. He's not the problem. He's just come in and done a job. But it's things like that wind fans up. And I just can't believe that some people...
£83.17 per point. My season tickets cost this season. And mine's one of the cheaper ones in the Northern at 500 quid. There are people who have paid upwards of £1,000 for their season ticket this season. So they've paid £165 per point to sit and watch this crap every week. And yeah, I mean, I agree that this isn't Simon Rusk's doing or anything, but he is a symptom of the problem. And frankly, people are fed up with listening to that bullshit anymore. It doesn't wash anymore. And then they act surprised when they when someone has a pop on social media. What are you expecting? What sort of nonsense bubble is it that you're living in where you don't kind of appreciate the gravity of how monumentally shit you've all been all season?
I think you should get that on a cardboard sign.
Does my head in.
Yeah.
And I personally, for me, there's a load of players who I've loved dealing with and who've been nothing but honest all season. And I appreciate them for that as well, just to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I don't think anyone would argue against that. Martin, like final thing on the Arsenal game, your thoughts on players that we were probably going to see for the last time. Sounds like we might not see Kyle Walker-Peters or Jan Bednarek, but you think maybe like Aaron Ramsdale, that's going to be his last game on Sunday, and someone like that is, he's been paid a lot of money, all right, but he's come in and he's done his best, and people like that, I guess, are going to leave with our best wishes. So there might be one or two. Matty Fernandez, another.
Yeah, I would like to see Carl the weekend. I've got to be honest. I think he's been a really good servant in the 5 years he's been here. Model professional. He's always given 110%. I think, in my opinion, I've enjoyed watching him play. I think he's ready for a move now. He's clearly a Premier League player, and he stuck with us last season when we were struggling in the Championship. He stayed with us, helped get us back, and I hope to see him get an opportunity to play some part of the weekend. He deserves. I think Rambo's been brilliant. He was clearly, him and Mateus Fernandes were the best two signings. I think I
think you should say Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah. Well, I mean, go on, man.
He's been brilliant. I think he's been absolutely magnificent. I think Mateus Fernandes will have suitors. Whether we outprice people, that'd be interesting to see. Could it be Tyler's last game at St Mary's? Potentially. I still think he's got a long way to go to be the real deal, the finished article, in my opinion. But I echo everything Alfie said about the attitude of a lot of people. I think the fans are given...
I think it's going to say given a long enough piece of rope, I suppose, or they've given everything all week, all season. They've given them enough chances. Any of those three is probably what he said.
I really wish that you hadn't done that calculation about the points per pound, Steve, because that's really annoyed me now. I hadn't done that. I hadn't thought about that. So, let's get some score predictions. Martin, I think you're hanging on in there, which is good. David Stokes, Mike Binks, Ian Hart, and Danielle Getliff all got the Everton score spot on. Steve, I think you predicted that we might nick it, didn't you? Did you go for the 1-0?
Yeah, I went for the three-peat of closing stadium wins.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
In the bin from kickoff.
Does that change your view for the Arsenal game then? Do you want to go first?
I kind of think it's going to go a little bit like last week. I think it's going to be it's not, the reaction after yesterday isn't the same as it was 2 weeks ago after the Leicester shambles. But it's not been a million miles off in terms of players being singled out, the system being singled out, the initial team selection being highlighted as what on earth are you doing with this? And these are all things that we complained and questioned after the game at Leicester. And then we went into the Man City game. He picked a team that I think 99% of us probably would have picked. Played the way that we expected, that we hoped that we'd play in terms of being resolute defensively, everyone knowing their jobs, keeping at it for the full 90 plus minutes. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see us do exactly the same again. Whether we kind of ride that little bit of luck that we needed against City this time around, who knows? But Yeah, I mean,
Am I
that's
putting you down
the
for a
way I
0-0?
expect us to play. I don't think we're gonna trouble David Raya particularly. So apologies to Matt Sells for ruining his bid for the Golden Glove. But yeah, 0-0.
Okay,
Wow.
Alfie.
Yeah, a lot of the things I agree with Steve. And again, about the Arsenal team, don't know what's going to turn up and what's going to be put out there, but I think I'll go for a 2-0 Arsenal win again. But I'll say one thing, not really necessarily related to score predictions, but as the last sort of 6 or 7 or 8 weeks, we've sort of thought about the players we're talking about leaving, and Taylor Howard-Bellis, and obviously Carl Gabir is a different story, but Matty Fernandez, Tyler Diblin, Aaron Ramsdale, whoever it is, a lot of these players we're talking about 20 million fees, 25, 30, 40, or 50 million fees for Tyler Diblin. And I'm worried that over the last 6 weeks, that price for a lot of them has just dropped and dropped and dropped. I think Ramsdale would definitely get 25 million for, or whatever his release clause is, if it exists, because he's a good keeper. He's been really good this season. A lot of the points we've won have been because of him. That'd be fine. And Matty Fernandez's value, I reckon, has only gone up. But a lot of the other guys, like Taylor Howard-Bellis, I like Taylor. He's clearly good. He's really good in the Championship, but he's had a really bad season. We have to be honest, he's had a really bad season, and I don't know who's going to buy him for 20 million quid in the Premier League. And Steve made the point to me today, where he's England international. He's got a lot of potential. He's a Man City youth graduate, so maybe someone will bite. But we need to sell we need to sell enough players. Kamaldeen Sulemana, who's going to pay 10 million quid for him? Paul Onuachu, considering that he's never fit, he's got an ankle injury. Who's going to pay 5-10 million quid for him? We need to sell enough players so that it's not, we're not sat here in August going, oh, we haven't bought anybody, we've got no money, And I'm worried that, unless these players put a good show in, no one's going to buy them. So I hope that for that reason, we have a good performance in the season. But I mean, we didn't even mention Taylor Bellis is injured, by the way. He's picked up an ankle injury in the game against Everton. I don't know how bad that is. Hopefully he's okay. But if it's a bad one, that could be another problem.
Martin, do you want to chip in with a score prediction? We won't hold you to it, and we'll get Glenn to do his own just in case.
I'll go 3-0. I'm going to go 3-0.
3-0 defeat.
Yeah, 3-0 defeat for me. Yeah, I can't see us getting anything. I don't see us scoring either.
Okay, if you're watching live, don't forget to put your predictions into the comments. And let's finish with the positive then, Alfie. It's the under-21s, isn't it? The game at Crystal Palace. We said it was kind of like a free hit because we weren't really expecting to get much out of it. But what a game that was.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing achievement, genuinely, to reach the the national final of the under-21s, the Under-21s League. I think that the Saints team of 2014-15 won the Under-21s Cup. With Ryan Seeger up front, Sam Gallagher, a couple other names as well, maybe some bigger names in there. But this is the first time the Saints could potentially win the Under-21s League, and it was a great day at Crystal Palace. Derek Abu was man of the match. Derek Abu, a right back who we got from Chelsea a couple of years ago. He's tall, he's athletic, he's technically really good. Takes free kicks. He set up a goal and scored a goal, but he's out of contract next month. And I asked him, what's the situation? He said, we don't know yet. But he's relaxed about it. He's got a successful music career alongside football, by the way. If anyone's ever listened to his music, if you like rap music, it's called Chosen. But he's played Ibiza. He actually has played Ibiza, wow. Which is crazy. I mean, I'm useless, and he can do two things very well. So well done. But this team, this 21s team, Derek Abu said to me he thinks they're the best team in the country. Man City, who we have in the final, will argue against that. They've dominated youth football for the last 5, 6, 7 years. It's been such an important part of their project. But it's going to be an interesting game. Going to Man City, a national final. We've got Don Ballard, who knows how to score goals. We've got Derek Abu, a couple of older lads mixed in with these younger guys like Joaquin K-Sander, Jay Robinson. Obviously, he's got a lot of talent. A good goalkeeper, and Josh McNamara. So I'm really interested. I don't know if it's confirmed yet, and I think this might be the delay because they were talking about Thursday, whatever this week is, Thursday, to play the game, but they're trying to get it on Sky Sports potentially, so we might all be able to watch it on Sky Sports.
Where is it? Is it in Manchester?
It's at the Man City Academy Stadium, the Joy Stadium, whatever it's called, which is a shame. Obviously gives them an advantage, but that's just the way youth football works. It's never a neutral stadium in youth football. It's always the highest ranked.
The competition was originally... The whole knockout stage was supposed to be basically seeded, so the higher ranked team was always at home. And then the quarterfinals went a little bit weird because we were obviously at home to Fulham and Palace were at home to Chelsea, and both of us managed to win against the much higher seeded teams. And then it all kind of went a little bit all over the place.
But yeah, so if they get it on Sky, it'd be nice for a lot of us to watch. I'm going to head up, obviously, hopefully do a nice few interviews and watch the game and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's something to be really proud of. And I'm intrigued to see where these guys who are sort of 20, and out of contract this summer end up, because I don't know if they'll give Derek Abu a new deal. I think that he's honestly good enough. He's played in the Football League. I think he's good enough to be part of the squad, but there is a big difference between League Two, League One, and sort of top end of the Championship. So maybe it's not quite right. But yeah, if anyone's watching that game, it'd be interesting to keep an eye out.
Especially if it's on Sky, that'd be a nice little touch. It's always good to end on a positive, and I think that certainly is. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. You can follow the Total Saints podcast on all the usual social media platforms. It's at Total Saints Pod. Check out the website as well. There's a new merch store we've got on there. Loads of nice little bits to treat yourself to over the next few weeks. totalsaints.co.uk is the website that you need. And as I mentioned earlier, you'll also find us on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with a monthly contribution. You just head to patreon.com/Total Saints Podcast. And each of the tiers comes with different perks. There's weekly shout outs for patrons in our Francis Benali and our Mick Shannon tiers. Check your DMs, guys. Thank you to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer and James Kibbe in our Francis Benali tier. And also thanks to Colt Baker, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Hingston, Phil Cook, Nick Reed, Phil Horstrup, Matt Hall, Mark Littlewood, Mike Etheridge, James Bobin, John Bevan and Liam Dempsey, who are in our Mick Shannon tier. And a massive thank you to Paul Castle Associates and Steamtown Brewery for sponsoring TSP this season. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to Alfie. Thanks to Martin. Thank you for watching and listening. And we'll see you again next time.